Legacy tech isn't just inconvenient, it could also be exposing your business to serious risks and lost revenue. I'm here to walk you through exactly how to take control of that. I'm Matt. I'm your fractional CTO. I've been in the tech industry for 25 years. And in that time, I've done a lot of migrations and upgrades to legacy systems, from just lift and shift all the way up to a total rewrite. If you don't know what either of those mean, don't worry. We'll talk through this in a non-tech jargon, and hopefully you'll learn a thing or two about how you can take control of your legacy systems. So the first thing you need to do with almost anything is you need to see where you are. Assess the situation. What is your legacy system, or what are your legacy systems, and how are they holding you back? What can you not do that you wish you could? Identify, risks, security holes. You need to identify lack of gaps in functionality. Also, if you have a legacy system, you probably have other systems that aren't as old, and so those systems probably don't talk to each other. If that's the case, then you've got another layer of complexity that you need to address. And then once you've identified that, set some business goals on how do you want to modernize that. Modernization projects are great. They're fun. They help people do a lot more in the same amount of time, and they make your employees' lives so much easier. Okay, once you've assessed everything, the second thing is to determine the best modernization approach. There are three main ways to do this. The first is, I mentioned, the lift and shift. So lift and shift means if you have something that's, say, on premises or something that's in an older infrastructure, you can take that, you can lift it, you can move it over to AWS or Azure and drop it in. Sometimes that'll be enough to gain you a little bit of time. It's not going to be a complete fix, but it is one step in the right direction. So if that's your case, if you want to do a lift and shift, after that, then you'll want to incrementally or full overhaul of your legacy system. So that buys you some time. It's a Band-Aid. It can kind of improve performance. Then there are two more main options. One is incremental, which is typically what most clients tend to do. We'll take a look at their systems and a legacy system, and we'll say, okay, well, if we just do this one little piece first, then we can do it in phases, and we could go down the line, and it will be less risk. It may take a little longer. Actually, it might be quicker in the long run. It's really hard to say with the complexities of systems these days. But that's the most common, is we'll do an incremental migration, and we'll take one piece and migrate that over, and then we'll do the next chunk. And there are going to be some dependencies, some framework stuff that we need to do at the beginning, but after that, we'll be rocking and rolling. And then the other option is a full overhaul. This is a complete rewrite typically, and that means your system is super old. It's not even worth doing an incremental upgrade. Or you may decide that the project is so critical that you don't want to mess with making a mistake with an incremental migration. One thing to keep track of is any integration points. This is going to be a huge risk if you miss any of those. I know some systems, they seem simple, and then you get in there and there's tons of things that are tied into this one legacy system. I know this can be overwhelming. If you want 15 minutes of my time, there's a link in the description. I'd love to chat with you and see how we could help each other. I love modernizing applications, so let me help you out, and I'd love to. The next thing you need to do is plan for growth and security. Those two things don't always go hand in hand, but they should. You want to architect for stability to make sure that everything is working and it stays working. You want to also build in security from the ground up. You need compliance. I've mentioned before on several previous videos, things like PCI compliant with financial data, GDPR if you have European customers. You'll also want a disaster recovery plan. And as you do this migration, if you do an incremental approach, it's kind of built in. You want to have, instead of a monolith, like one big huge thing, you want to have a modular approach to your application architecture. Okay, step number 4 is you want to engage your support team. I know this sounds a little counterintuitive. What does the support team have to do with my migration? Well, they are going to know the app better than most people will. They know the idiosyncrasies and the nuance in the app. What are the headaches? What are the must-haves? What are the calls that are coming in? This is, I just recorded a video on data analytics. Analyze those tickets. Let's see where the hotspots are. And then while you migrate that chunk, fix those bugs while you're at it. And Engaging the support team will ensure that transition is smooth and that they're happy and their customers are happy. Okay, number 5 is watch for some pitfalls. The first one that comes to mind is scope creep. This can kill any project. If you say, yeah, I want to write an app that will track my water intake. Okay, great. Well, first of all, there are a million apps out there, but that's not the point. Then you say, okay, I want to track my water, but then I also want to track my sodium intake, right? Because of my electrolytes, I need more electrolytes. Okay, great. So then you start tracking that. And then, okay, well, I want to include this brand for that. Okay. And then that brand for the type of electrolytes I'm taking. Okay. Now we want to track food. And we want to track exercise. And you can see that something very simple just turned into something very complicated. As soon as you start looking things up, like how many calories are in whatever, that now you have to, and the nutrients and micronutrients and all that stuff, now you've created a completely different beast. So watch for scope creep. Don't do too much. Less is more. Another piece is testing. Testing is going to be super critical. I mentioned the support team. Have that support team work with the QA team. The two of them working together, they should be able to have a really good test plan and a really good way to make you comfortable that your app is working the way it should. And then the last piece in this section is avoid a total cutover. If we do it in a modular and an incremental way, then we don't have a light switch where it's on or off. Like, we have one and then we might move to the other and this one no longer works and this one is finally on. But as we do it piece by piece, then it's a gradual migration, it's a gradual change, and you mitigate a lot of risk that way. Okay, here's some quick wins to get started. First, run a health check or risk assessment to identify any quick wins that you can have. Sometimes just plugging holes in some security holes, that can give you a quick win. Look for other things that could also be there. Another way is a pilot program. A lot of times in a public-facing app, we will do a pilot program with a few users. So we'll write some code that will only allow certain users with this new feature, and then they can test it out. There are like some really high, there's some users that really know the system well, and they have a good relationship with the client. So they can test the system. They can say, all right, this is working. That's not, what are we doing? This is garbage. Or what are we doing? This is amazing. That's a good way to gauge how the quality of the app is for your migration. And then assuming you're moving to the cloud, which is always recommended for small and medium businesses, you can take advantage of things that are already built into the cloud, like backups and security and load balancing, things like that. That can give you a boost right there just by moving to the cloud. And if you're already in the cloud, sometimes you can have a cloud engineer go through and say, well, we could do this a little bit better. We could do that a little bit better. Spin those dials, flip those levers, and really get an app that works well for you and your team and your customers. If you made it this far, thanks for watching. Legacy systems are great. It's what built your business. There comes a time when it's time to rewrite it, or it's time to migrate it to a new technology or a new platform. It's more than just housekeeping. It can be a competitive edge because your app then works better than it did before. As always, book some time with me. You can get 15 minutes on my calendar. I'd love to chat with you and see how I could help. Like the video, share, subscribe, and I'll catch you again next time.